He can cook a shoe, and it'll taste delicious. You don't even have to bring your own, he says. And that's neat. It's Tom White. This is Teaching to the Test Pattern.
Hey, buddy, thank you for downloading this episode of Teaching to the Test Pattern. I'm Tom White, your host. This is part 4 of my conversation with Rob Calloway from Columbia High School. Rob, super awesome dude. We reconnected several years ago at an event, and he was telling a story about a teacher who was doing this sports thing, and I didn't realize it was Rob at the time because he had his back to me, and I was like, wait, he's talking about me. So Rob and I have been friends ever since then. We worked together when we were at Clear Channel for a while. We've known each other for years, but became really good friends once he got into education after I made my leap into education. In this episode, we talk about Rob's jump to education. We talk about what he did before education. Great stories that Rob can tell about working for conservative radio, working in extremely liberal radio, working on both sides of that and kind of where he is in that. We talk about his role as a producer at the time, how his job was to make others excellent, and now he continues that with his students at Columbia High School. We talk about greatness. Make sure you listen to this one where he talks about greatness. It's awesome. Speaking of awesome, Amitrace.com, our sponsor for Teaching to the Test Pattern. Their stuff is awesome. They are not pick a box, check it, we'll ship it, you got it. That is not how they work. They're going to meet with you. They're going to talk about what you want to do. They're going to talk about your space. They're going to look at it. They're going to measure. Then they're going to bring in your stuff. They're going to set it up. They're going to train you, train your kids, whatever you need to make sure that you have the best experience with your broadcast tools. They're going to take care of that. Amitrace.com, Amitrace.com. Look for a link down below in the description. So let's get started. Part 4, my conversation with Rob Calloway from Columbia High School.
Teaching to the Test Pattern.
I had a conversation with somebody a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about video stuff, and he was asking for advice. And, usually that means, hey, I want you to do the job. And as we were talking, he just goes, I'd be ashamed if I didn't at least ask. What would it take to get you here? And I said, first thing, 12 weeks vacation. And he goes, conversation over.
Right. Because that's the benefit of being a teacher. You get those weeks.
I think that, a lot of people don't understand, they see you got all summer off. Well, we spend the first week of every summer together.
Yeah, right.
And then the last week of the summer, there's usually something going on. So when you were in radio, what did you do? Kind of give an overview. I did it all.
Well, I started out on air when I was in Augusta. I started off on the air as, like I said, the overnight jock, and then as I progressed in that market, I became the night jock, 7 to midnight. But then when I got ready to come back home to Atlanta, I knew that I was going to take a back seat, right? And this is the craziest part, is that I knew I was going to take a back seat, and originally I was like, you know what, I don't mind. Until I got here and I realized what that back seat meant. The back seat meant I was not getting the same VIP treatment that I was getting when I was on the air, and I was like, you know what? So I was board opping, or being a technical producer, as they call it. Like I said, at 680. Then I was actually the producer, and I did all the producer duties over at GST when we worked together. And then when I got to V, I ended up becoming the sports director. So then they put me back on the air and got me back in a good situation. But I did a little other stuff around the radio station. And so, the God honest truth is, I wish I had never pursued being on air, because being on air are always the jobs where you get fired. Board ops don't get fired, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know this dude, James Ferry, has been the commercial production director at over there at V103, 92.9 The Game, and WAOK. I know for 15 years. He's seen everybody come and go. Mm-hmm. Everybody. And, that's who I need to be.
My favorite radio story about an on-air guy, he was in Cleveland, and Dallas was trying to get him. And they were at dinner, and the program or general manager was there, and he said, hey, we want to offer you this number.
And he slid the piece of paper across the desk, and my buddy takes his pen out, writes another number down. The general manager goes, "Why is it half what I offered you?" He goes, "Because I've made a lot of money before. That's why I'm looking for a job." He's like,
"Damn,
I was on the air. I know what it is." He goes, he ended up not taking the gig just because he was like, "Yeah, I don't want to live that life anymore." When I started in radio, so I started in '99, and this was right when Clear Channel was literally just buying everything. And I started in September. I was the guy driving the truck, setting up the tent, all that. I was 20 years old, living in a fraternity house, making $50 an hour doing that. I was like, this is the best job
ever.
Right. 2 weeks before Christmas, they call 2 entire radio stations in and go, "All right, you can go in that other room." And then everyone else got an envelope. I was like, whoa, this is serious.
Oh,
you don't have that in education.
You don't.
Worst case scenario, they don't offer you a contract after your, after your season.
Yeah, I can remember being a November 2008. I want to say 2006. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Dude, I can remember I walked in the building, the elevator opened. The guy who I was producing at the time, Kimmer, was getting off the elevator with all these boxes. And I said, "What's going on?" He was like, "Oh, we just got let go." I said, "Oh, we?" He was like, "No, me." I was like, "Oh, thank you, Jesus."
That was a tough day.
Yeah, well, everybody got fired that day, bro.
November 17th.
Everybody got fired.
I will never forget that day. That was the day that we took 96 Rock off the air and put Project 961 on.
And then said that either you were part of the project or part of the problem.
Yep. And man, I wasn't welcome to Thanksgiving that year. My family was mad.
Yeah, 96 Rock was a staple in the market, man.
I still see tags literally every day.
Yeah,
the station's been off the air. What?
Yeah, just like you see the ones for Z93.
Yeah,
then Dave FM, which is now 92.90 Game. I mean, we had some real iconic stations in the market, man. So
it's all right. So you mentioned the Kimmer. All right, talk about as a black man working conservative radio for as long as you did.
Well, you know what, conservative radio. I'm not gonna lie. I actually used to like conservative talk radio, like the Neil Bortzes of the world. Like I love Neil Bortz. Royal Marshall was one of my idols. The late Royal Marshall. I still love this dude, man. Like because Royal Marshall was the one that I said, you know what? If Royal can do this, I think I can do it too. I think I might just have to suck it up a little bit. There's some little things that come along with it. You got to kind of have tough skin, and working with Kim Peterson, Kim Peterson is, he's an icon in the market. But man, he is so brutal. I mean, he's brutal on the air. I mean, there's no other way to put it. He's brutal. And there's some things that he might say about, I'd be in the studio with him. He'd say stuff about Jesse Jackson. That's when Barack Obama had first came on the scene. He was just like a lot going on. And I would be like, you couldn't possibly mean this stuff. And he'd be like, "No, I don't mean it. But I got to feed my people, right? I got to feed my audience. Like, no, I don't mean it." And then me and him, we go eat dinner or whatnot and everything would be good. But, I think that, on the outside looking in for people that just hear clips and snippets and all that stuff, a lot of times you might get the wrong idea. But because everybody that does conservative talk radio is not a Sean Hannity, they're not a Kim Peterson, the right just might be their platform, right? And so just because that's their platform, they don't necessarily mean that they're radical, because now we have a lot of radical conservatives, right? They're saying do a lot of things that we've never really seen, not in my lifetime. And so, I think that for me, having worked at WAOK, which is it's an all black talk station, right? And they talk politics, but they talk politics from an African American standpoint, right? So for me to have worked, and might as well say on the far left, and then to work at a place like GST that's on the far right, it's really no difference, and the one constant is that I'm in the middle, right? That I'm the dude in the middle. So, it's one of those deals where if you don't like it, you can always change the station. That's the power of being a radio listener or a TV viewer, that you can always change the station if it's something that you don't necessarily agree with.
So one of the conversations that I have with my students regularly is the idea of a toy maker. And kids don't make the toys. And, it's adults that make the toys. And it kind of goes to the same thing with media. In your role as a teacher, how do you teach your students to be the toy maker, to control the conversation of what goes through Columbia High School's video program?
Well, once I start giving my input, and then they like, don't nobody want to hear that. Nah. And so it's one of those things, I say, and I tell them all the time, okay, well, I can always take over. And if I take over, it's going to get done, it's going to get done a whole lot quicker than what y'all doing. And then at that point, that's when they step up and say, oh, no, well, we don't want your idea. We don't want this. We don't want that. And then it makes them start trying to really focus in and say something. Because if I have to say it, or if I have to give it to you to say, then it's really not yours. We were part of this film competition, and like last year, I was all in on one of the movies, right? Hands up. This semester, I said, oh, no, y'all got it. I went out there with them maybe one day, and after that, I was like, nah, it's going to be on y'all. Win, lose, or draw, this is your project. So you have to make them take ownership. And young people don't really like to take ownership of anything. They don't like to be accountable. They don't like to be responsible. And don't try to call them out or hold them accountable, because it's going to go bad.
I think the word is vulnerable. The students are, and as a teacher, that's something we have to be extremely.
Yeah.
We have to be able to sit in front of a class full of students playing tic-tac-toe on the whiteboard and really just tell the truth. They all got bad.
Right. It doesn't matter.
No, they didn't think I noticed. I got those teacher eyes. I know what's happening over there. So talk about, transitioning from, in radio where your job was behind the scenes when you got to Atlanta after being on, frontline, to behind the scenes to now where you're a teacher. And it's the ultimate vulnerability, because you're pouring passion into the kids, the school, the program. And when something happens, that emotion, that hurts.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? For me, I would have to say that I'm very passionate about this, right? I'm very passionate. And, when you have kids these days, they're passionate about one thing, their phone. That's it. They're not passionate about anything, the phone, because the phone is their gateway to everything. But when it comes to this profession or being a teacher and trying to actually train students for a career in audio video, I try to be the model first, right? A lot of times that don't work. So you have to find creative ways and creative things. And sometimes you have to be the person that says, you know what? If you just do this, then I'll let you do this part. Right? And sometimes you'll find that it works, right? Okay, if you do this, I'll let you get on your phone the last 20 minutes of the day. If you just do your work, Markel, you can watch IMG highlights the rest of the day, right? That's part of the deal. Sometimes you got to meet them halfway, even though you really don't want to. Mm-hmm. But you have to. And, talking about being behind the scenes, like, I already feel like I'm great, like I'm excellent, right? My job behind the scenes was making other people excellent, making Frank and Wanda excellent, making the Kimmer excellent, making Ryan Cameron and Wanda Smith excellent. Like, that was my job was to make people sound excellent, be excellent, whether or not, they were on the excellent thing that day or not. And so it's the same thing in the classroom. And that's what I was saying about the wins earlier. Like, you just gotta kind of point and be like, this, and it all kind of come together. Go ahead.
Teaching to the test pattern.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Teaching to the Test Pattern, part 4 of 5 in my conversation with Rob Calloway. If you like Teaching to the Test Pattern, please, you don't do it for me, do it for your friends. Like it, comment, review, rate, whatever you need to do. Share it to your circle of friends. Just help get the word out there. It's not necessarily for me. Okay, it is for me, I get the weekly stats. They're great. I'm excited. If one person a week downloads it, I'm happy with that because hopefully that one person a week gets something from these episodes. Part 5 coming up in just a day or so. How to hustle. How to create content with your students. How to use what they're already doing for positive things and to create content. And Rob's got a great message about how you, while you may be alone in your building, you're not alone, and how you can build your support group. Thank you so much for listening. As always, go make awesome.
Teaching to the test pattern.